Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great day. I wasn't really planning on making a video. It is 3 something in the morning here on the east coast of Florida. I'm up bright and early and I'm working, and I thought I would share with you some of my favorite tips for one of my favorite tools, and that is the glue gun. This one looks like a piece of junk, and it kind of is, but I got it. They had them on one of those famous like $1 sales at Home Depot. And so I was able to score this and actually a 5-pound box of these longer glue sticks, which are handy when you're using them a ton for crafts and maker stuff where you're just rolling through the glue. So, all right, like I said, I am in mid-project, so this glue gun is actually on, and it's pretty rare that I use this glue gun because my first tip is about this glue gun. And if you are involved at all in the Ryobi, or as people call it, Ryobi, ecosystem, I can't say enough good things about this glue gun. For one thing, if you live near a Direct Tools, it's not uncommon to be able to pick this thing up for 15 bucks. But even at retail for 30 bucks, it is a fantastic tool. This thing gets extremely hot. In fact, my favorite Home Depot review of this thing refers to what comes out of this thing as Satan's magma. It is a ridiculously hot, ridiculously fast, ridiculously powerful glue gun, and I use it nearly every day. It is just a very, very good glue gun. I'm not using it in this situation because I have something else that I'm running through it, but this is worth it if you're in the ecosystem. Even if you're not in the ecosystem, like, go buy a drill set and get one of these. I gave one to my wife also, and she's constantly stealing my batteries, but it's okay, I love her. One thing I would recommend, because of the fact that this is such a high power device, is to get one that actually, a battery that has the little gauge on there so you can keep an eye on it, make sure you're not running the battery down too low. But other than that, and I will say there's one more design flaw about this thing. If you look, almost every glue gun is going to kind of point down. I don't know if you can see that. Every glue gun kind of points down. Well, this one's actually fairly far forward too, but all the glue guns that like your mom had, I won't make a joke, but all the glue guns that your mom had are made to point down like this, and this one points straight forward. And so I got one really nasty burn by bumping into the end of this thing because the end is pointing forward. But other than that, fantastic tool. So highly recommend this glue gun. My next tip is to get a variety of glue. And one of the things is that you would, I'm doing this on a live video. You would not really think about it, but there are a bunch of different kinds of glue. This is, I'm going to get a few of these out here. And so I use, that one looks terrible, especially on the camera. But there's a lot of different kinds of glue. And let me kind of walk through what these are and why I use them. This one just is a generic holder for cheap glue. And I highly recommend having some cheap glue because a lot of times when you're using a glue gun, you're going to want to pull the glue off. And so the cheapest, junkiest glue is good to have on hand, and I keep some all the time. The second one is that there are different colors, and so a lot of times if I'm working on black electronics or something like that, I will use this black glue just so it doesn't stand out quite as much. And then as you get into the better glues, it's just good to know that some of these things are available. I am a huge fan of this Gorilla Glue for the hot glue, and it is a lot like wood glue, and they do actually make a wood glue, but you can put this finely on some wood, and when you go to rip it apart, the wood will rip before the hot glue will. And then this is another one of the stronger glues, and I got this. This was like a 5-pound box of glue at Home Depot for like $1 something, but it was this Sure Bonder stuff. And so this is what I would consider like an intermediate strength glue. It's not as strong as the Gorilla Glue, but it is way stronger than a regular glue, and it will most likely rip the board if you rip it apart. But this is kind of my good everyday. It's way stronger than what you're going to get at Walmart or the craft store, but it's cheap enough that I'm not spending the money that I spend for the Gorilla Glue. One final thing is actually, I should mention, they do sell this at Home Depot and the big box stores and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to special order this. My next tip for you guys is to get multiple glue guns. I'm not saying go out and buy them all new, but you know, as I see them at yard sales and stuff like that, I get multiple glue guns, and plus my Ryobi here. And the reason why is because there are multiple kinds of glue. And so rather than trying to heat this up and yank it out and just waste everything that's in this section, if I see them for $1 or so, I go and pick them up. And now I basically have one glue gun for each of my types of glue. So I just always keep black glue in this one because I use a lot of it. And so it just saves the time, and also just saves the waste of kind of mixing this glue and kind of dumping out a pile of it when you don't really need it. So I wouldn't say go out and buy a whole bunch of them new, but if you have, you know, if you come across them, I would go ahead and get multiple glue guns. Like I have this Craftsman one that's pretty decent. This is the one I use. I always keep Gorilla Glue in. So anyway, that is another tip. The next thing is that hot glue, especially cheap hot glue, makes a fantastic temporary clamp. And so in this situation, like, it looks like I just went crazy, and I did. I'm gluing these wires to the sensor. I'm gluing the sensors to this little cheap plastic bin and all that kind of stuff. And it looks like I just absolutely ruined my sensor. But that is why you use the cheap glue. And I have one more top tip for you. We're going to combine the two into one. This is 91% rubbing alcohol, and I keep this on my desk at all times. And I'll just go ahead and show you that if I were to, you can, again, because it's alcohol, you can just soak the electronics in it pretty much, as long as they're not on. And so I just kind of douse this stuff with rubbing alcohol. And now I could get this off on the other side. Let me see here. I mean, you can get it off, but you can see how much I'm pulling. In fact, that one I feel like I'm going to break something. But you give this a couple doses and you give it a minute or so with the isopropyl 91%, and you'll see a pretty big difference. Okay, let's try it. You can see that it just came off nice and easy, and then as I peel this stuff, and I might have to hit it again, but as I peel this stuff, I can basically get this completely free from everything, and my sensor's perfectly clean. Like, you would have no idea that I had hot glued on that. And then even these delicate wires, good chance, I may have to hit it again, but good chance I'm going to be able to just take that glue straight off. And now I have access to the underside, so I can go ahead and hit this one more time, baby. Yeah, and if the DuPont wires don't come clean, like, they don't come clean, but oh yeah, see? I mean, it just came right off the back, and now I can pull them apart. And I mean, it's basically as if this glue had never been on there. I could sit there and scrape that a little bit, but I might have jacked up that connector a little bit. But you know, for the most part, you can get them separated and you can get them clean with the 91% alcohol. Where this stuff, I mean, you could, again, like, you could get that off, but you stand a really good chance. Now, I've ripped multiple headers out before trying to get the hot glue off. So 91% alcohol, it's going to come off clean, and it's going to work great. And your sensor can pick it up and even tell you if that's really 91% alcohol. Oh, actually, it's an MQ sensor. It can't. Now, my next tip, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but this stuff is an electrical isolator, and especially for low voltages, if I have something like this transistor and I know I'm just going to be shoving it down somewhere, or you know, if I have a lot of things together and I want to make sure that that these pins aren't going to touch each other because I'm just floating it or just shoving a whole bunch of stuff down the box, I will actually hit these things with glue and do a layer and kind of wrap them almost with glue to keep parts separated, and use it as a temporary or even permanent low voltage electrical isolator. So that is one of my really common uses for it. The next thing has nothing to do with the glue gun itself, but I bought this little fan here for $1 at a yard sale, and it was dirty when I bought it, and it's still dirty. But I use this all the time, especially with that real high temperature Ryobi glue gun. It takes a while for the stuff to dry, and so I will turn this fan on when it's plugged in and just blow air across it, and it dramatically speeds up the drying time for the stuff, which again, maybe if you were doing some kind of high bondage application, it wouldn't you wouldn't want to do that. But when I'm just working and just want to get on to the next step, having a little fan like this, well worth a quarter, but I mean, I would pay a couple bucks, maybe get one from a dollar store just to have, and I keep it on my desk at all times for drying glue so that I can get on to the next step of my project. The next thing I use it for, I'm not going to demonstrate in the video, but I use this stuff as a temporary clamp in woodworking all the time. Let's say you have a router. I don't have mine sitting right here, but let's say you have a router and you are trying to, make a shape on something that's really small. Sometimes you just can't get surface clamps in the picture without running into them with the router, or it's more dangerous or whatever to have that there. And so a lot of times what I will do is I'll take a sacrificial piece of board, and instead of putting little nail holes into the part that I'm going to see later, I will take some hot glue and hot glue the bottom of it. And when I do that, I'm able to have a completely clear top so that I can just sit here and route the bottom and know that with pretty good certainty that that thing is going to stay when I'm working on it. So those are my favorite glue tips for makers, and just want to know how you guys use hot glue. Does anybody have the Ryobi one? What do you guys think of it? Yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd talk to you at 3 in the morning. So have a great day. Thanks for watching.